and welcome to discussion today on Sansad TV. I'm Tina Jha. Before we begin the program today, let me wish our viewers a very happy Women's Day. May we become a gender equal and a gender neutral society very soon. On the show today, we will be talking about the OTT guidelines and the Supreme Court's observation on these rules framed by the government. The Apex Court said on Friday that the government's new rules to regulate over-the-top platforms lacked teeth to punish violators or to screen offensive content. A bench of Justices Ashok Bhushan and R. Subhash Reddy noted that the rules notified by the government on the 25th of February are just some guidelines. They do not have any teeth or any provision for prosecution, etc. And this is in fact, not a satisfactory mechanism. That's what the Supreme Court of India observed. And the court has now asked the government to consider a legislation that could also provide for prosecution. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta told the court that self-regulation is the idea behind the guidelines issued by the government, but it can come up with a draft within 2 weeks on the suggestions made by the court. So on discussion today, we will analyze the Supreme Court's observation on the OTT guidelines and what stricter rules would mean for the OTT platforms in our country. Joining me on the program are two special guests. Let me introduce them to you. We have with us Mr. Abhishek Malhotra, he's Advocate Cyber Law, and Mr. Abhishek Singh, he's CEO, National E-Governance Division, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Welcome, gentlemen, on this edition of discussion today on Sansad TV. Mr. Malhotra, let me begin the program with you. And let's first try and understand broadly the main observations made by the Supreme Court on the OTT guidelines issued by the government. And why does the court think that a legislation is required to control the content on the OTT platforms in the country?
Okay, I think, first of all, thank you so much for calling me on this extremely interesting discussion. And, it's important to know the context in which this observation came about. What was an issue before the Honorable Supreme Court was not an evaluation of these guidelines. It was a petition for an anticipatory bail or interim protection of a person who was at the helm of affairs at Amazon Prime Videos and therefore supposed to be made responsible for the allegations made in an FIR registered against Amazon, its directors, as also in connection with the program known as Tandav. Now, in that context, while considering those aspects, the Government of India mentioned that it has come about, it has notified on the 25th of February, for the first time ever, some set of guidelines that would regulate the behavior and the kind of content that could be placed on the OTT platforms, because nothing existed prior to this. It's interesting to note that we have come, we've traveled quite a bit since about, let's say, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when the original stand that used to be taken when a PIL would be filed against such or similar programs on the OTT platforms. At that time, the stand that the Government of India took was that these are OTT platforms which are intermediaries, and therefore there is no way that we can control them as long as they comply with the regulations under Section 79 of the IT Act, which is to state that once these intermediaries were notified that there was something that was in violation of the law, they would need to take it down. The OTT platforms themselves have developed from merely acting as intermediaries and therefore placing content of third parties on those platforms to a situation where they themselves curate the content. Recognizing that, I think in November sometime, the allocation of business rules were amended, and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting took charge of the content and the news that was coming out on digital platforms, and it was envisaged that there will be some sort of regulation that would be put in place to govern even the content, not just the platform. And I think it is in keeping with that understanding, it is in nevertheless giving an opportunity to the industry to self-regulate itself that the ministry has come about with these guidelines.
Yes.
The guidelines are also important and instructive because they just don't leave the complete onus on the OTT platforms. They actually, by way of an annexure, detail in certain amount of specificity the kind of steps that would need to be taken in relation to various aspects, whether it is violence or nudity or sex or any defamatory remarks or the kind of content that goes on those platforms. So I think it is a fairly comprehensive document. It gives the industry what it needs, which is some sort of instructive guidelines as to how they need to put their content out, and at the same time leaves it into their hands to actually regulate themselves, with, of course, the overarching, let's say, mandate and the understanding that if they don't adhere to these guidelines, then perhaps a law will come in its place, and then they will have to be subjected to that law. In that light, I think it's a very interesting and forward-thinking regulation. And perhaps once the Supreme Court does have the occasion to look at those guidelines in the context of actually evaluating them and being allowed to, for the advocates on either side to present, arguments in support of those guidelines, that's perhaps when we will get a better understanding of what the Supreme Court opines on those guidelines.
Yes, precisely. And as you rightly put, Mr. Singh, self-regulation is the main idea behind the guidelines that have been issued by the government. But now, following the Supreme Court's observations that were made on Friday, it has, of course, led to fears that it could now mean not just certification, grievance redressal, but also, in a way, censorship.
I would not say censorship per se, as was spelled out in a press conference when these guidelines were announced on 25th of February. It was mentioned very clearly that this is a soft touch guidelines, in the sense that it puts the onus on the OTT platforms to self-regulate them. And one would expect that, since ultimately the business of OTT platform will depend on the kind of viewerships they get. And if the guidelines are existing, and if the government has issued a guideline that self-regulation with regard to the content of regarding what can be shown, what cannot be shown, especially content which are too violent or which can cause mental stress amongst children or people of any age group, or classifying it into various age groups, the kind of content that is shown, or showing nudity, showing sex, showing explicit scenes, or showing anything that can cause violence amongst communities, amongst religions and all. So those were the ideals of these guidelines, of insisting on the first level of adherence through the self-regulation mechanism. The second level that was defined was an association of OTT platforms will look into the second level. In case the self-regulation is not working in, then it will come in, and then finally at the third level, a government-appointed interministerial committee was there as an oversight mechanism. So the objective of the whole guidelines was such that one would allow creativity to flow. Yes. One would allow freedom of expression within the reasonable limits of which is imposed by the Constitution, Article 19.2. So even 19.2 says that freedom of expression is there, but it is bound by reasonable restrictions. So this is what was the intent, and it also mentioned that it also had an assumption that if the government takes up the responsibility of regulating everything that it does in the case of, say, films which are produced, which go through a censorship board, it will be impossible. It will be an impossible task, because the volume of digital content that is produced today is immense. Yes. We cannot compare it with what the films are produced. So that way, the only way it can be done is self-regulation, followed by the association, followed by an oversight mechanism. So one would expect that this system will function well. And in case there is violation of these guidelines, then of course there are legal provisions which deal with any act which leads to a violent activity or improper depiction of women or promoting pornography. So there are other sections of law which would definitely apply. However, what the Supreme Court felt that in case there are gross violations, then maybe there will be a need for having a legal enactment which defines what will be the punishment for these for the violation of these guidelines. So what I would feel is that, since these have just been notified from a totally unregulated era, we have come to a regulated era through these guidelines, and it will ultimately depend on how these guidelines are actually operated in practice. And then if there are issues that emerge, like the Tandav issue, or like if other issues come in, then there may be a need to have a legislation or something, and that will be, of course, in the domain of the parliament or the courts to decide whether we need a legislation or not. But as such, for what the government has done, use the ambit that was available in, use the flexibility that was available in Section 79 of the IT Act, and read it along with the need for ensuring order, ensuring proper content, ensuring that all the content is there, falls to the entertainment category, and there is nothing which can lead to violation of the other norms with regard to violence or nudity or sex or pornography.
Yes.
So that's the status right now.
Mr. Malhotra, in
Just
your opinion?
adding to that, sorry, just
yes,
couple
yes,
of
go ahead,
very
go
quick
ahead.
points in addition to what Mr. Singh just mentioned. The aspect that we still do have a law that is available to punish the wrongdoers. It is because of the fact that that law exists that there have been these FIRs instituted in relation to the Tandav matter and all. And even otherwise, what these regulations and these rules actually say, first of all, the rules that have been notified have the force of law. So therefore, it's not to say that there is nothing that exists in this particular regard. Secondly, it's very specifically stipulated there that if the intermediaries or the online curate content providers, the OTT platforms, etc., fail to adhere to these guidelines, then they will lose their intermediary status, which is to say that they will be liable under the various provisions of the Information Technology Act itself, in addition to the IPC and maybe the other legislation that we already have. So we already have law to protect the interests of the general public in this regard. The second part, we must also realize that when the Cinematograph Act was enacted, it was to deal with, in 1952, the spate of bringing out some sort of classification of the kind of the film that could be viewed. And that is because cinema theaters, in the absence of a specific law, will not be able to prohibit people under the age of 18 to come and watch a film which could be A-rated. Now, and that's what's called where people were actually going out to a cinema theater to watch a film, and they only be prohibited by law. In the case of the OTT platform, where what we refer to as pull content, I would want to see something. I, as an adult, will ensure that my children will not watch something which has a particular rating. So some amount of responsibility is therefore foisted even on the general public to take care of such situations.
Yes, and I think
Yeah.
just a few years ago, Mr. Singh, the Supreme Court had, in a way, turned down a petition saying that we cannot curtail creative freedom. And if there are things that one must not watch, it is their own responsibility. They should not just not watch it. Why is the onus always on the government to ban something? So as an individual, if one doesn't want to watch a program which violates his or her belief, one should not watch it. So my question here is, the Supreme Court's observation was that the content today is almost pornographic. Now, the question is, we already have laws on pornography. So instead of implementing them strictly, why do we need a legislation to sort of control the OTT content?
It's not a question of needing legislation. The Supreme Court judges just said that like whatever is the law needs to be, or whatever are the guidelines need to be enforced in letter and spirit. And if they don't have enough teeth, then maybe we require a separate legislation. That was what was the intent of this. If you look at the broad, like the sections of IPC, like for example, 153 IPC, which is very often used in the physical domain, wherein somebody speaks something or somebody does an act which leads to a violence amongst communities or causes rioting. So is it that, and 153 IPC is very often applied in all such cases wherein somebody makes provocative statements. So does the domain of provocative statements lie only in the physical domain? What if these statements are made in a digital domain? Will section 153 read with the IT Act not apply? To my mind, it would apply. What about 354A IPC, which also says that when somebody makes remarks which are of a sexual nature or shows pornographic material, which may include videos and all. So these 354A IPC is there on the law books. So if in a digital domain, if somebody uses the OTT platforms to do the same offense, the 354A IPC will also apply. What it does, what the guidelines do, is that since the volume of the content is too much, and if we start like encouraging FIRs under 153 IPC or 354A IPC for every other show, then it would lead to a surfeit of cases. It would lead to delays in justice and all. So to prevent that situation to arise, how do we ensure that OTT platforms comply with these regulations? So for that, the guidelines is just a soft touch nudge to ensure that OTT platforms follow these guidelines. If they don't do, of course, the force of the law will come at them. There are sufficient provisions under IPC which can be applied for any such violation, along with the provisions of the IT Act. The whole license to show these programs and all can be withdrawn if the whole thing of being an intermediary is not that it's like a blanket license that we can always practice that. If there are violations of Indian law, if the violations of any guidelines, then the provisions of the law which have got penal provisions will come in force. The Supreme Court judge's observation primarily relates to that, and it says that in case these provisions are violated time and again, or if leads to something, then maybe the guidelines can be given more force by having penal provisions spelled out there and there. And that's how law evolves. Like otherwise, we would not have new laws coming in.
Yes.
Like for example, the laws against rape. They were there. It was not that it was not there. But if it led to people trying to use any loopholes to try to get away with that, whether it was juveniles or anyone after the Nirbhaya case, the laws were strengthened. So the evolution of the law has to be in sync with the evolution of technology, and the way technology is evolving, the way digital content is increasing, and the way digital content is having an impact in everybody's lives, the law will have to catch up with the trying to enforce what's good for the society.
Okay.
And ultimately, that's what the Supreme Court has said, what the guidelines are saying. I don't see any conflict between what the guidelines are and what the Honorable Supreme Court judges have said.
Okay, but Mr. Malhotra, if the Supreme Court feels the need for stricter rules or maybe a legislation that has penal provisions as well, does it violate creative freedom? Does it invade into the privacy? How will it impact the OTT platforms?
So the impact on the OTT platforms, of course, is something that only time will tell, to my mind. But in so there are a couple of aspects that one has to be sort of aware of. First of all, as Mr. Singh had said originally, whereas there is a fundamental right of freedom of speech and expression under 19(1)(a), it is subjected to reasonable restrictions under Article 19(2). Now, it is under Article 19(2) that the Parliament enacts legislations, and any other aspects that are delegated legislation like these rules are also notified. When one is to look at that power, has that power been exercised in the context of creativity? Yes, it has been, in the form of a Cinematograph Act. That act has stood the test of time. It is now nearly 60 years old. And it is, while there is an attempt to modernize that legislation itself, there were also attempts to say that rather than provide for a censorship, provide for a classification. And there was a Sham-Benegal committee that was looking into those aspects about 3 or 4 years ago. So all those aspects are being considered to see how does one move ahead with time, and also for state action to only come in where it's absolutely necessary. And otherwise, as Mr. Singh said, it should be a soft touch approach, because you are looking at creative content, you are looking at exercise of creativity. Justice Nariman in the Shreya Singhal judgment had said two things which impact these aspects. The first that he said was that when you are looking at any particular aspect that is objectionable, please do not look at it with the lens of 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Look at it with the lens of contemporary standards. Contemporary standards are always evolving. And therefore, something that may not have been permissible 20 years ago may be acceptable today. So that's the one thing that he said, which is extremely important to judge when you are looking at whether you need to regulate content itself or not. The second thing that he said was that given the speed at which dissemination happens on the internet and the difficulty in controlling that once it is already out in the public domain, there is a case made out for independent and separate approach towards regulation of content on the internet. Now, that, to my mind, has been read by the government, and to my mind, again, rightly so, to say that rather than adopting the approach of legislating, we will adopt the approach slightly differently towards the internet, which is very difficult to control, in creating a self-regulatory structure with certain guidelines to govern that those habits, that kind of the approach that people take. If, however, people do not follow that, then of course the law will take its own course. So to my mind, I do not think that there is a need for any other overarching law. Section 66 to 69 and those kind of provisions under the IT Act are sufficient. When read with the IPC, when read with the extant legislation that provides for the criminal penalties, and I think the document that has now come about It's hardly 10 days old. I think it should be given some breathing space. It should be given time to actually see how it plays out. And if it does require a modification, by all means, it can be done so by an executive fiat, or it can be done by a law made by Parliament.
Absolutely. It should not appear to be an act of moral policing. That's a very, very thin line. And perhaps, Mr. Singh, OTT market in India, the pace at which it has grown, do you think such actions, such stricter rules which have penal provisions could in a way hinder that growth, could impact the OTT market in the country?
I don't think so. See, penal provisions are not the norm; they are the exception. So when there is a law, and when any OTT platform or any business who is in the entertainment business is running it, they have to abide by the rule by the law of the land. And ultimately, what sells will ultimately what people will watch and what people would enjoy. Larger section of the people is what will ultimately give them businesses. So no OTT platform would try to get into a domain of fighting court battles and trying to get into a domain which caters or which appeals to a very small section of people. If you look back at the satellite television, maybe 20 years back or maybe 25, when Star TV had first time come in India, that time also these issues were raised. That Bold and Beautiful and other shows will come and they will affect Indian culture and they will violate Indian laws and all. But what happened? Within no time, Star Plus was showing, Star TV was showing Saas Bahu serials. So they will adapt to the Indian situation and what the Indian society wants. And if the conservative Indian, largely population of conservative Indians wants conservative shows, they will get that. If there are certain explicit shows which are there, then they will go on some other channels which will not be subscribed by people who are wanting to do that. So these guidelines will ensure that, and the larger business, the advertising business that will come, will be determined by the number of people who are seeing those programs, by the TRPs that they are getting. So the business will determine what content is shown, and guidelines and laws will be there to ensure that any errant behavior or any deviation from the guidelines is taken care of. The government cannot be seen as being blind to what goes on. It's the government's moral and legal responsibility.
So the Solicitor General, Mr. Singh, the Solicitor General has assured the court that in 2 weeks it will take into account the court's observations and get back to it in a way reconsidering the rules that have already been framed. So what are the options before the government now? To strengthen the already existing rules, the new rules that have been notified, or maybe also consider the option of a legislation?
See, a direction from the Honorable Court, even in the form of an observation during a court hearing, is taken very seriously by the government. And if the Solicitor General has said that, he will be expressing the views of the government. So whatever the court has said will be put up before the concerned ministry and the whole committee who has done that. And it will be seen whether the penal provisions which are there, as Abhishek was mentioning, about the guidelines read with the IPC provisions, read with other legislations which are there, then the court will be apprised of. This is what it is. And if the court directs or if there is a feel within the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting that we need to legislate, then that call can be taken. So, in fact, that's how things work. The court's directions are not ignored. The Solicitor General has a moral and a legal responsibility to respond to this in the court. And any direction from the court is like a command. And it will be put up to the concerned ministry and the concerned competent authority, and they will take a call and report back to the court about what's the status and in what ways we see that the guidelines will be implemented, and we will not have any such situation as has been arisen in the case of Tandav, where people are wondering what is right, what is wrong.
Okay. Mr. Malhotra, one concluding remark from you on what is the best way forward so as to ensure that creative freedom is not infringed upon, at the same time regulating the OTT content?
I'm a votary of self-regulation. I think these guidelines and these rules are very timely. They not only provide the format for that self-regulation, but they also very importantly provide a roadmap for the OTT platforms themselves to try and figure out a way of being in compliance with the law. So I think, as I have said in the past, let these rules play themselves out. Let's see how the OTT platforms and the general public reacts, how the mechanism of grievance redressal works, and only then should we come to the conclusion as to whether or not we need another law.
All right, so with that, I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of Discussion Today on Sunset TV. Thank you to both my guests for joining us on the program today, putting things into perspective for us and our viewers. So that's it from us on the program today. Just in case you've missed the television broadcast of our program, let me remind you, you can also watch it on YouTube and you can get back to us with your feedback and suggestions as well. Thank you for your time.